Hi, everyone. This is Lynn Crawford from Hope Dementia Support, and I'm here today with Jake Beck, who will talk to you about the magic of music. So, Jake wants to be kind of informal, so if you can put your questions either in the Q&A or the chat, and at a reasonable time to interrupt, we'll stop and ask your questions. So, Jake, could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Everyone hear me? We're good? Okay. Thumbs up, Lynn.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay. My name is Jake Beck. I'm the owner of Upbeat Music Therapy, and I'm a board certified music therapist. We have a relationship with Hope Caregiving Dementia Support and CDM Caregiving Services. It stretches back a number of years, even before I owned the company. I'm very glad to be here, very glad to be presenting on the magic of music, and then therapy is just in the little parentheses there. Part of the Hope Community Education Series. So welcome, everyone. Oops. Okay, so like I said, I'm Jake Beck. Those initials after my name are Music Therapist Board Certified. Um, I can be reached at those numbers and that email address anytime. You can see it all over there. And I just got to put in a little plug for our brand new website, www.upbeatpnw.com. We worked very hard on it, and I didn't know how hard it was to make a website, but now I do. But now we have it, and it's great. I'm the owner and director of Upbeat Music Therapy right here in Vancouver, Washington. Based in Vancouver, we serve all of Clark County. We even go up to Longview for hospice sessions, and we do go into Portland as well. I've been a professional music therapist, a board certified music therapist for 16 years. I've worked clinically in NICU, neonatal intensive care unit settings, so real small babies, through rehabilitation, both physical and mental, in a rehabilitation facility in Vancouver. Developmental disabilities, folks with DD, dementia care, and my primary clinical and my great love is working with hospice and end of life. Upbeat Music Therapy is a music therapy and creative arts contracting agency. It was founded in 2011 by Ann Vitor. We have an experienced team of music therapists. I believe I have 6 therapists on staff right now. We have delivered high quality, safe, and effective professional music therapy services to thousands of people with a wide variety of health challenges in healthcare locations in Clark County, Washington, and beyond. So check us out, send me an email, give me a call. I'm always around. So our talk today, as Lynn said, I'm hoping will be a little bit informal if you'd like it to be. So I'm not kind of prattling along for 90 minutes. There will be some music, so don't worry about that. That's what I'm here for as well. But the topics I'm going to be discussing today during our time is what is music therapy? How does music therapy work? Treatment domains of music therapy that are specific to, well, they're specific to all populations, but we're going to make them specific to dementia care. Some of my personal and experienced case studies that I've had over the years. Music therapy for the aging and with dementia, and kind of a little not versus, people with dementia are often aging as well. But the kind of the differences between working with therapeutic music with those that are quote unquote typically aging and those with dementia. A slight little bit at the end about caregiver training, and then questions. And I do have some question slides throughout as well, so feel free to go ahead and ask questions during that, or if you have a real burning one, let me know. Or let Lynn know. She'll let me know. All right, we get to have fun right away. I got a song choice for you. This is where you get to try out that chat function. I've got 3 songs up there. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, Blue Skies, and I Can See Clearly Now. So the person that shoots their preference first to Lynn gets to hear that song. And Lynn, you're going to tell me which one it is.
Blue skies.
Blue Skies. You got it. I chose all of these songs because these are songs that I generally will put at the beginning of a music therapy session, whether that be with a group or with an individual. They're kind of uplifting. They talk about nice and happy things. They're positive. In the case of a couple of them, they're kind of about overcoming as well. So blue skies is real pertinent right now. I know there was blue skies today, at least for a little bit, and it felt fantastic. But of course, we're in the rainy season, so you can sing blue skies whether it's rainy, and you can sing blue skies when there's blue skies. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, watching all the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my, how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Okay, so there you have it. Now we can begin. All right, so let me give you kind of the dry to the slightly less dry definitions for music therapy as a discipline. So the American Music Therapy Association says that music therapy is the clinical and evidence-based use of musical interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. That's kind of a mouthful. I like describing what music therapists do. People want to know about that. So music therapists use music, whether that be guitar, piano, voice, tonal and atonal instruments like drums, in a therapeutic setting, and that's wherever the client is located. I've been to people's homes in every facility, probably in Vancouver, to work towards appropriate goals as determined by the client themselves, family, caregivers, medical professionals, area aging agencies, and the music therapist. So we have a kind of a team thing going on here. Actually, I'm going to skip. No, forget it. I'll get lost. Let me give you some of the benefits that I and we have seen as a profession with the application of music therapy for all age groups and all populations. I'm here today to talk about dementia, but we work with children, we work with kids with autism, developmental disabilities, as I said, adults with mental health, teens with mental health, anxiety, depression. Music is just, it's just such a versatile therapeutic use. But some of the benefits that I've seen are safe opportunities for the client for relaxation, decreases in symptoms of anxiety and depression, positive mood alterations, smiling, emotionally supportive therapies, meaningful relationships and socialization with both the therapist and those family members or housemates or what have you that are around them, profound familial experiences, cognitively stimulating activities, respite for their caregivers. I know Hope is very interested in that. Fun and enjoyable activities. Music is fun. It can be. We can also provide unique and effective support for dementia care specifically, although we provide care for all ages and diagnoses. My agency does not have a home base besides a co-working space that we have in Vancouver for administrative work and training and things like that. We don't have a clinic, is what I'm saying. That's kind of a 5-year goal. A clinic would be awesome. But for now, we enjoy the entirety of Clark County and the entirety of Multnomah County. We've gone everywhere. We've been everywhere. On-site visits to all facility types and homes we've made. There is telehealth availability, and I only say that kind of with a whisper because during the pandemic and with particularly folks with dementia or that are aging or that are hard of hearing, or that are on hospice, I found it to be kind of a dud, to be quite honest, to work in a telehealth capacity with folks like that. It just did not reach people. It did not engage people the way that in-person live music therapy can. And I would say that's true. That's 100% true, but it was even more glaring during that time and with populations of folks with dementia. We see notable increases in quality of life, which is kind of an overall metric for how you're feeling and how you're doing and how you feel about yourself and your surroundings in your life. And then it can be an engaging distraction from pain and discomfort. And there's some reasons for that I'll go into a little bit later. We work in a goal-oriented model. So you can start up at the top there. You're supposed to start with assessment, but this is kind of when we're treating somebody with dementia or otherwise, we're working in this kind of cyclical model. We start with assessment, which is figuring out through music what kind of goals a person might be after. Maybe that's more reminiscence, maybe that's increased quality of life, maybe that's decrease in anxiety, decrease in symptoms of depression, things like that. And so we're assessing, what does this person need? And we treat that person using music application. So singing, guitar playing, instrument play. There's a ton of interventions, and I'll go into some of those as well. And then that moves right into evaluation. So over a certain amount of time, whether it be a session, which is about an hour long, if we're coming back weekly for whatever reason, we want to evaluate each session how we are accomplishing those goals. So we move right back into assessment again. And so we provide like quarterly reports and evaluations to people. It's not necessarily, especially with dementia, but in other ways, it's not always about like getting this person better or finding a miracle cure. Nothing is like a magic pill, but we do hope with every person that we increase their quality of life in some way. Okay, so we use an assessment model, and these are the domains that I'm going to go into much more in detail a little bit later. But we assess the whole person. We want to know how a person's doing in these kind of domains. These are kind of little buckets for how a person is, how they're doing. So physical, cognitive, communicative, emotional, social, spiritual, and musical. Kind of important, but they're not lessons, you know. Treatment is, like I said, totally music-based. It's right there in the name, music therapy. We use music of all sorts, whether it be live or recorded, rhythmic, melodic, songs, all kinds of stuff. We use a variety of different instruments. I think you could see them. I put out a bunch here on this picture. Some of you may have interacted with these. We have a xylophone, stand-up drum, gathering drum, tambourine, ocean drum, which is really cool, sleigh bells even. You can even do that when it's not Christmas, and you got the little guitar up there as well. So we use a lot of instruments. And the interventions, which is kind of a fancy way of saying activities. I think we were trying to distance ourselves maybe from being activity directors. Not that there's anything wrong with the word activity, but you know, you got to have your own little word for it. So our word is intervention, but that's basically activities. We structure our sessions so that we're always doing something within music to accomplish those goals in treatment. And our main goal, I would say, if we had one with every single person, is engagement. And that can be all the way from a person is practically comatose, or they're nonverbal, or unable to engage at a higher level. And so the engagement at that point can be like eye contact or tapping feet to the music, or even a little bit of touch. That's engaging. And if that's where a person is at, then we're really happy with that engagement, all the way up to writing a symphony, writing a song, playing a concert. You know, that can be a form of engagement as well. So there's a huge spectrum there. And then our evaluation, which again, we refer to our domains on the left there. And we're evaluating increases in certain things and decreases in other certain things. So when we're evaluating with a person with dementia, we might look for increases in reminiscence, telling stories about your life, having memories. Self-reported quote unquote happiness, that's kind of a quality of life metric. You can kind of tell that too. If someone's smiling, having a good time, you can tell. Positive affect, big smiles. Peer interactions, socializing with those around them, where, as we know, dementia can be pretty isolating at times. Peer interactions are still very, very, very important, especially with family members, friends, housemates, things of that nature. Appropriate exercise. That's pretty nice. I put the word appropriate because you don't want to be doing jumping jacks and burpees sometimes. But you might want to do a little patting of your lap. You might want to do a little clapping, some dancing, something in your chair. There's lots of different ways that music can promote exercise and promote wellness in that way. And we're also looking for decreases in things. And so we're decreasing symptoms of confusion, agitation, symptoms of depression. We definitely want to decrease isolation. I think I popped that on there during the pandemic for this presentation because it was so prevalent then. But it's a real issue with folks today. Breathing rate, decrease in breathing rate. That's a symptom of agitation, a symptom of anxiety. And so there's musical principles that we can use to actually decrease somebody's breathing rate, decrease their heart rate using an entrainment model. And we want to decrease loneliness as well, which kind of goes along with that isolation piece as well. We work with the entire care team when we can. We're very interested in being interdisciplinary. I think that I know that I've had the experience many times with a hospice client or a client with dementia in an adult family home or something like that, where you go and there's just nobody around. There's nobody around that person. So when we can, we want to interface with the client, their friends, therapists, physicians, nurses, social workers, case managers, care providers, and especially their family, to see if we can use the valuable information that we can't get anywhere else to help speed along our assessment and treatment process. So an example of that would be somebody with dementia who can't quite recall their favorite artist, or can't recall if they were a dancer or a singer when they were younger. And that's where the family comes in. Oh yes, mom danced. She went out and danced all the time. Mom was a piano player. Dad taught himself violin. Dad likes big band, et cetera, et cetera. And that information can be so valuable, and it could be a time saver as well. But we like to be. Sometimes we see things with a person that other folks don't get to see, because the music can be so powerful in their lives and so engaging. Just a bit about the two really overarching types of music therapy sessions. I think I mentioned a little bit ago that they're generally 60 minutes long. We call it a therapeutic hour. So it's between 45 and 50 minutes of direct musical intervention and contact, and then it's 5 to 10 to 15 minutes of getting in the door, introducing ourselves, getting set up, getting all the instruments out. It's still engaging, but it's not like direct music. But we do this in two general kind of buckets. One is groups and one is an individual session. And that's exactly how it sounds. So groups, we're looking for more with all of the members of the group that are there. We're looking for peer relationships, socialization. It's a very highly social activity when it can be. It's an energizing activity generally. We're sharing our experience with those people, and they're sharing it with their peers. And then kind of a shared reminiscence as well. I think I spelled reminiscence wrong. Yep, extra I. Maybe somebody caught that. Reminiscence. That's, I grew up in Vancouver. Oh yeah, where at? This kind of thing. An individual session can be a totally different animal. So we're looking for a more direct therapeutic relationship. It's a low socialization environment. It's often 2 to 3 to 4 maybe with members of family as well. It's a less stimulating environment. It's involving more family and friends rather than people that at the assisted living facility. Still reminiscence, spelled it right that time, and legacy. We're looking at directly kind of propping up this one person in that session with the music and individual goal setting. Okay, the question mark means I'm going to take a drink of water and see if there's any questions about all of that. Yeah, you'll have to forgive me to give the little plug about music therapy.
So I do have some questions for you.
Okay.
So if you're willing to share, how
Yeah.
did you decide on music therapy?
Oh, wow, great question. Thank you. So let's see okay. How far back to go? It was, I got married in 2004, and I was living in Wisconsin, where I grew up. And we came all the way west to Portland for my wife's medical residency at the naturopathic school in Portland. And I was jobless, and that whatever year that was, 2004, I had a real hard time finding a job. And the one job I could find was being a caregiver at a small group home for people with developmental disabilities, adults. And I found, I found lots of things, but I found that they don't pay those folks nearly enough, that they're good at that job. But secondly, I found I had a capacity for it, and I had the stomach for it. And so I liked that job a lot more than I thought I would, being with people and helping them and caring for them. And at the same time, this was pre-cell phone for me, so I was at a library and I read a book about music therapy and end-of-life care. And I didn't know what music therapy was, even though I had a music degree in music performance, which is the guitar there. And those two ideas, the being a caregiver and using music in a direct way to help people, really it was like an epiphany. And I called around, and there was one music therapy school in the area. That was Marylhurst University, which is now defunct, no longer with us, unfortunately. And that was by far the closest music therapy program. So I went there. I got convinced in one phone call from the music therapy director there to attend school, and I did. And it took me about 4 years to get done, including my internship. But that was that set me on my way.
And then the last personal question, what is the best thing about being a music therapist, and what is the most challenging thing?
Wow. The best thing about being a music therapist is reaching somebody in a moment that the people around that person or even that person themselves did not expect. So touching somebody through just the right song or just the right kind of musical experience, where that person comes out of their shell a little bit, or sings again when nobody thought that they could again, or something like that. It's those kind of like surprises with a person. It's extremely gratifying and special. And then the most challenging thing, probably, I think it would be the opposite of what I just said. It's when, oh, here comes the music guy. This will be fun. And the music guy comes, and the client or the person is just they're in a state that not even the music can touch them, and so it's a little bit kind of embarrassing and things like that. And you want to help this person so badly, and the people's caregivers are at the end of their rope, and that day is not. It's just not their day. That's probably the toughest thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. We moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, let's talk about the magic of music with dementia. I'm going to go through all of the domains again, and I'm just going to give you kind of some examples of goals that we use with all of these domains. If you remember, they were physical, cognitive, et cetera, et cetera. And when I'm explaining the domain, after I kind of explain the domain, I'm going to give a kind of a case study of an interaction that I had that was particularly indicative of these domains. So when we're talking about the physical domain in treatment, Some of the things we can do to improve that domain or work on that domain are movement, relaxation, which is kind of the opposite of movement, respiratory support, something I spoke about just a little bit ago with breathing rates and things like that, and then a non-pharmacologic pain management. And this is where you got to be a little careful, saying like, oh, let's not give mom her pain medication. Let's have the music therapist come over. It's more about an option for relaxation and an option for distraction from pain, to engage a person in something other than the pain that they're experiencing, which can be constant. And when they're having trouble with their medication, when they need more and more of it, this is especially true with like people with cancer or people at the end of life. Music, through a lot of research, appears to be a particularly powerful tool for distracting somebody from their pain for as long as they're interacting with music. So that's what I mean by that. Okay, so we got our physical domain and the music magic that goes along with that. I have two little case studies for you about this, titled Rehabilitation and the Lizard Brain. I know that sounds a little ominous, but the lizard brain only refers to the kind of old brain that supposedly we had when we were evolving. So one is the tapping feet. And this is something I've seen multiple times in people who appear to be sleeping or appear to be at the very end of life, kind of decompensating and not able to have their eyes open anymore. They're going through a very necessary process at the end of their life. But I'm telling you, if you play somebody some music, somebody either sleeping or somebody at the very end of life will tap their feet to the beat. And it's amazing. And the reason that happens is that we process music in particular at a precognitive level, which means music hits the part of our brain which helps us breathe and makes our heart beat, pumps blood through our brains. So we can have entrainment with music and we can have a physical reaction to music without having to think about it or when we no longer can. And I think that's just amazing. The other little case study is the stubborn walker. I used to I used to work in a rehabilitation center. And so I would help the physical therapists and the occupational therapists and the speech therapists. We would co-treat folks because they had to do all these exercises and things like that to recover from whatever. So there was a gal in a wheelchair, and she was at the end of the hall, and her physical therapist was she had to do these exercises, to get better and to be able to leave the place, and she just wouldn't do it. She just sat there. I'm not doing it. So luckily it was a good day for the music therapist, because I came out and I sang her "Walk the Line," the Johnny Cash song, and she got up and started marching down the hall to the beat with her walker in front of her. So music can be a very motivating type of thing, and not just because it hits us at a precognitive level. But I imagine we have some Johnny Cash fans in the house. We always seem to. It's like the Beatles, Johnny Cash, Elvis, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to sing a couple verses of "Walk the Line," if that's all right. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the hands out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I spend each night alone when the day is through. And everybody knows that I'm a fool for you. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Because you're mine, I walk the line. So that song's great because it not only has a very steady rhythm, It's really easy to walk to and really motivating to walk to, but it also states the thing you want a person to do. Walk the line. So that's just a perfect song for rehabilitation. Parkinson's, gait training, it pairs really well with that as well. Okay, so the cognitive domain, that's happening all in our big, beautiful brains. What we're trying to do with a person with dementia in the cognitive domain is to create a sense of safety in their surroundings, because it's often very confusing. Decrease confusion, promote reminiscence, and promote reality orientation where we can. So this is happening now. This is your dad, this is your mom, this is your son, etc., etc. Okay, so in our cognitive domain, the music magic comes very often with dementia and recognition. So the case study I'm going to present to you this happens a lot, and I think it's kind of a popular story about music therapy and about the power of music, and that's the curious case of the nonverbal singer, where a person with dementia or otherwise will have such deterioration in their brain that they can no longer speak, or maybe no longer recognize even their closest family members. And it appears that they're very close to end of life, and their dementia is very advanced, which is true, at least in the advanced dementia part. But if you play them music or you sing just the right song to them, they can sing, and they know the lyrics, and so they can't talk, but they can sing. Maybe this story sounds recognizable to some of you. Maybe you've heard this, maybe you've experienced it. And the analysis on that, I know that this presentation is called "Music is Magic," but there are reasons sometimes for the magic, and the reasons that they're finding for that is that music affects the entire brain almost more than any other single thing that we have in our lives, in our existence. So specifically, our speech recognition and our speech pattern, that's located in one little part of the brain, the Wernicke's and Broca's area, I believe on the left side of the brain. I might have the particulars wrong, but that's where the ability to do that is located. However, the ability to recognize music and access your memories to music happen all over the brain. So you can lose your speech recognition or your ability to speak, but you can still have a memory of a song. And so it's almost like a totally separate thing. It's not speech, it's music. And I think that's incredible. And I've seen that happen quite a number of times. And so in that instance, what we're trying to do in the therapeutic sense is to find a song that is so well preferred by that person that they can't, it would be hard for them to forget it. Oftentimes that's a Christian hymn, but there are a few pop songs from the 30s, 40s, and 50s that fit the bill. One of them is definitely "You Are My Sunshine," and one of them is "Let Me Call You Sweetheart," which must have been just a giant hit. I think it was a giant hit a couple times is the reason. I think it was a hit in the 1920s, and I think it was a hit again in the 1940s. But it's a nice little waltz, and I'm sure you know it. But this is the type of song that is really, really all-encompassing, that a person of a certain age would almost certainly recognize, that you might break through that nonverbal wall with. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so blue. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. This is the part where I always say songs were a lot shorter back then. There's one verse to this song, so I always sing it twice. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so blue. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. That song's also nice because it's a waltz, and that's really fun to dance to and really, really motivating to dance to. You just really want to get up and sway around. It's kind of like a lullaby for adults. Our next domain is communication. Something that we as dementia friends know can be a challenge for ourselves and for folks with dementia as well. But what we're trying to do is promote self-expression. A lot of the frustration and confusion comes from not being able to say what you want to say, losing the words for it, as we mentioned with aphasia and the inability to speak, and just the confusion surrounding starting a sentence and not being able to finish it. You know, you're trying to express something, you're trying to say something, and it's super, super frustrating when you can't. So we want to promote self-expression where we can, support autonomy in communication, being patient with somebody who's trying to speak or sing or communicate. We want to promote choice, and communication can be very simple. It can be yes, no, it can be right, left, it can be point at this, point at that. And then nonverbal communication when necessary. Blinking, eye contact, tapping, thumbs up, thumbs down. You know, there's a lot of different ways to communicate. So we want to use music to help with that. The communication domain, the music magic, is my case study on this is preference without words. And this comes from a client that I had who, this was not a client with dementia. This was a client that had had a stroke. And she looked mad. She looked mad about her inability to communicate. She had really severe aphasia, and she was also bedbound at the time that she was my client. And so, you know, at baseline, usually when I go and see somebody, playing the music, making the music can be, you get a kind of a foundational engagement there, and you get kind of a foundational increase in quality of life. But she was mad about everything, and she was mad about me coming in there. So I ended up figuring out that she could lift her thumb like that. So I would, she could still read and everything. So I would hold two songs in front of her. How do they go? One, yeah. So she could move both of her thumbs. So one on her right and one on her left, and then she stuck her thumb up to the one that she preferred more. So we got there. We got there. I started with, you can always start with like classic country, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline, that kind of thing, Christian hymns, rock and roll, the Beatles. So I had two, you know, we got there, and I don't even remember what song we ended up with for that one, but she was able to communicate her preferences that way. People's preferences are so important. And so my analysis on that is, it might take a little bit of work, but music almost always engages at some level, and that's especially true for communication. When You're Smiling is just a lovely song about communicating happiness. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain. Stop your sighing, be happy again. Keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, keep on smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Love that one. Love that one. That was a big hit too. Okay, the emotional domain. We're getting deep here. So our emotions obviously are super, super, super important. This can also stem from an inability to communicate as well. Communicating how you are feeling and what you need to allay, the challenges you're having at any given moment. So music can provide opportunities for emotional processing and release of distress. It can provide a space for safe emotional exploration, and it can decrease symptoms of anxiety and depression. The only reason I don't like the song that I just sang, the only part of it that I don't like, When You're Smiling, is during the little bridge part there. It says, when you're crying, you bring on the rain. Stop your sighing, be happy again. And I think it's okay. I think it's more than okay to have what you might term negative emotions, to cry. That's super, super important as well. So I almost always think of that when I sing that song, although it's such a happy and positive song. We want to promote and support safe emotional release, and that release of that distress. So that's called catharsis. And whether you're beating on a drum as hard as you can to display or mirror that emotion, that can be really cathartic. That can end up actually making you feel good. I think children and adults alike get told a lot, don't act that way. Don't be too mad. Don't be sad. Just stop it. But we need to express those things. So music can be great for that. There's lots of songs that aren't happy. There's tons of songs that are sad, that end up making you feel happy. Those are some of my favorite songs. So my case study again is kind of a group case study of the amount of clients and the amount of people I've seen who I make cry when I sing them songs. So my question to them, and I can usually tell I ask, is it the good kind of crying or is it the bad kind of crying? And almost always it's the good kind of crying. Not always though. It can be the quote bad kind of crying where the memories that song brings up are too painful or not the person's not prepared to process those yet. But oftentimes it's the good kind of crying. And I think people with dementia are actually really, this is a superpower they have, is that their emotions can be a little bit more on the surface than ours, and things aren't stuffed down as much. They're coming out, and it can feel great to dance around or remember something so powerfully that it makes you weep. Half or more probably of music, even popular music, is about that feeling. Music is innately emotional. It's very much like the speech centers and the other things that your brain does. There's a spot, I don't remember what it's called. There's a spot in your brain, or several spots that process your emotions. And music touches those just as powerfully as it touches the base of your brain and the other parts of your brain. So one of my favorite songs that's kind of happy and sad at the same time, and that's very well known, is Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Another great Pacific Northwest song, because it just is true. Not today though. It was nice today. Raindrops keep falling on my head, just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed. Nothing seems to fit those. Raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking with the sun. And I said I didn't like the way he got things done. Sleeping on the job, those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. But there's one thing I know, the blues they send to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. 'Cause crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me, nothing's worrying me, nothing's worrying me. I think melancholy is a great emotion. I think that song speaks to it. All right. The social domain. This is probably one of the first things people think of when they think about engaging in music, is how it brings people together and how it's kind of undeniable that you want to kind of the Pied Piper effect. A good social gathering with music promotes positive, meaningful interaction, creates opportunities for connection, practice social skills, which can be just as much as the point as having a good time, and decrease isolation. Music is magical in the social domain because relationships will always matter, no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter how old you are, no matter what malady may have befallen you. We are on this earth to have relationships with people. So the case study is, again, kind of a blanket thing that I've seen time and time again, which is where an individual session, especially at an adult family home or a memory care unit. I see this in hospice when I'm tasked with going to see an individual. It's their referral. And I go there not necessarily knowing what I'm going to find, and what I usually find is that if there's a group of people in that building or that place, they all come out of their rooms, or they all come into the area where the music is being played, and the individual becomes the group. I think secretly, or not so secretly, adult family homeowners love this because they are now getting free group music therapy for their house. And I don't mind, because it's very much facilitating this social domain. People being together, smiling together, making eye contact, talking about their lives, reminiscing, and that kind of thing. So I think I can't think of one other thing that's more of a unique tool for bringing people together. It's not TV. I'll say that. Maybe art therapy. It's just wonderful. People clapping and tapping and playing the instruments we bring and everything. It's so joyful. So I think that's almost kind of self-evident with the social domain. Okay, and the song I will often play for folks, especially in an intervention or a musical activity where we're supporting an individual. Maybe that individual is wants to express something or wants to kind of be the star. They might play a special instrument like a xylophone or something like that, and the rest of the group were, including myself, were tasked with supporting that person. And what better song to support somebody than playing "Lean on Me"? Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Somebody to lean on. I think that's a song that'll be around forever. That's a classic. Lovely. All right, how we doing? I think we only have 2 left. 2 domains left. Our next one's spiritual. And the disclaimer about the spiritual domain is it's not necessarily religious oriented. It's definitely part of it, because a person's religious and spiritual beliefs are often core to their person and core to their health and their happiness, the way that they interact with that. It's extremely powerful. But spiritual can also mean the end of the whole person. This is our overall real deep quality of life metric. How is that person doing on the whole? It's almost like all the other domains kind of interacting with each other. How are they doing there? So in an end of life sense, we're fostering closure, resolution, and life review. Very powerful. We're making meaning in a way that is consistent with the client's beliefs. And those beliefs can be religious. They can also be ethical. They can also be moral. And we're enhancing strengths derived from a spiritual connection in some way. And we know that everyone is different in that way as well. So spirit's kind of like the whole enchilada. The magic in the spiritual domain is really, this is the most, to me, and I think that comes from an end of life perspective. This is the most powerful one. This is where a person really, really expresses the core of themselves when they can. And accessing that and allowing yourself to access that is extremely powerful. So I have two little case studies for you. One I call the Spirited Atheist, who was a gentleman that I visited when I worked at Legacy Salmon Creek as a door-to-door music therapist with their spiritual team. I visited lots of people there, but this gentleman was there for quite some time, and all he wanted to talk about was what an atheist he was. You know, that was his belief. That was his core belief. He was very well read on the subject. He wanted to tell everybody about it. So, but he loved the song "Hallelujah" by Leonard Cohen. That song, you know, Leonard Cohen doesn't do the most famous one, but. Heard there was a secret chord that David played and he pleased the Lord. You don't really care for music, do ya? Goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift. The baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah. great song, really great song. Mentions the Bible a little bit, David, and that kind of thing, but it's not a Christian song. It does say Hallelujah in it, but it's kind of like a hymn for non-religious folks. And so my spirited atheist, when he would hear the song, he would lift his hands in the air when he was singing it and close his eyes, and he was having a spiritual experience with that song. So we all, no matter what our beliefs are, we all have a deep well, to draw from. The other case study, I call it Crucial Connection, and this is another. This is an end of life, not right at the end of life, but I mean somebody that was on hospice that also had dementia. And I visited with her, I can't remember if it was within the first visit or maybe the second visit. She was a Russian person, and she spoke Russian, speak English. And that was very evident when I visited her, and I don't speak Russian. So we had a pretty insurmountable language barrier, plus she had dementia and was struggling to communicate anyway. And I played her some music, and it was like nothing, no engagement, no reaction. She didn't have a translator. And so she just kind of sat there, she didn't look like it was hurting her any. She seemed like she was having a pleasant time. That is until I played a Christian hymn. And all of a sudden she was singing in English, and she was singing all of the words, and she was looking right at me, and it was total engagement. So it was clearly something from her past, something that she must have gone to church an awful lot, whether it was in America or where she lived in Russia, but she knew all the words to this song. So we just sang Christian hymns, and that was our kind of spiritual domain. That was our communication. So again, I think kind of the theme of all these domains is music can transcend those traditional barriers. Language barrier, that's pretty insurmountable. And again, it's not a magic pill. I don't know if she hadn't been Christian and had some sort of upbringing with that, then maybe we would just had a nice time and gone our separate ways. But it became more meaningful, and it became more of an engagement because of that. So one of my favorite hymns is In the Garden, which I think is everybody's grandma's favorite song. That might be the case for you. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Such a sweet song, so personal. It's about a personal relationship with God. That's meaningful. And last but not least, I only chuckle because a much smarter member of my staff, who some of you might know, I'm not sure, Kelly Aloya, told me that I needed to add a musical domain because we're music therapists. I got so caught up in kind of explaining what music does for somebody non-musically. We get caught up trying to make ourselves look self-important or something, but we're musicians, and I would say that almost every other person in the world is a musician in some area as well. So musical is a domain. So this one this one can be really, really, really meaningful for folks as well, because lots of folks used to be musicians, or they had a certain skill that they have now lost or is deteriorating. And as we know with dementia, the goals for somebody with dementia are not necessarily to improve functioning, but to maintain functioning and to move those skills into different areas. So we can provide adaptive ways for individuals to build musical skills, even if they weren't musicians to begin with. Like I said before, a person's reticence might fall away a little bit with dementia, to where they will bang that drum, they will hit that xylophone, whereas maybe a little bit earlier in their life they would not have. They would have been embarrassed or self-conscious or something like that. Music is for everybody, and that's why we say that these aren't music lessons. This isn't a choir. We're here so that everybody can play. We make a joyful noise. So we allow opportunities for musicians who have lost their skills to participate in music in other adapted ways. And that can be singing along to a song that they used to know on the piano, or playing piano. I know many people who one of the skills that they have not lost is playing the piano beautifully. And it's very moving when that happens. So my case study for this and the magic was another end-of-life gal who also had dementia. Her name was Mary, and she told me, and she had the receipts, she had proof. She told me that she used to dream entire songs and be able to write them down and notate them the next day. And she said it was in the late 70s. This was between 1979 and 1981 or something. She had 5 or 6 songs that she would dream in total while she was asleep, and then she would wake up and she would notate them all down, and she could no longer play them, and her singing voice was not what it once was, but she was a lifelong musician. She played in the church. I guess her dad was a preacher, and they used to travel all around and that kind of stuff. So she just had an intensely musical life. She loved music. And so what I was able to do for her and with her is take that music and kind of write down my dumb guitar chords on top of it, and we could play those songs that she had dreamed together, and we even did a few little recordings. So that to me is a pretty shining example of adapting a former musical skill, and continuing to make it meaningful. A musician remains musical. I think everybody's musical. I really truly believe that everybody's musical. If you've ever walked past a drum and just wanted to hit it, that's music. That's music. So we try and do that and make that together. The song I have here is, if you want to sing out, the Cat Stevens song. Let me just look at this a minute. I don't know this song as well as I know the other songs I'm singing today, so I'm going to pivot. I wasn't going to sing You Are My Sunshine because I think I've sang that song. I'm not joking. If I've not sung that song 1,000 times, I bet I've sung it 1,000 times. And that doesn't make it any less cool for people, because that's probably the number one. Everybody loves that song. Kids, toddlers sing it. 101-year-olds sing it. Everybody sings it. It's their favorite song. It's their mom's favorite song. Their mom sang it to them when they were going to sleep. Some of you are probably nodding right now about it. So you know what? In the spirit of the musical domain, we'll sing You Are My Sunshine. Sing along if you want. My sunshine, my only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Oh, please don't take my sunshine away. Never really gets old. Not really. Okay, I realized that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff. We're going to move on after this question period to just a little bit of the difference between music therapy with a typically aging person and one with dementia. But before we do that, does anybody have any burning questions about all of the domains? There was like 7 of them, I think.
There is a question related to being musical.
Okay.
Do you have to be, quote, musical in order to benefit?
Nope, not at all. You do not have to be that at all. Do you enjoy music? Is the question. And most likely the answer is yes to that. Almost like 99.9% of people have some relationship with music that they can access, and so that's the only requirement.
Do
You don't
you
have to be.
run into anyone that you cannot touch with music?
Yeah, yeah, probably. My own grandfather, my own grandpa, did not like music. He would much rather listen to talk radio. So I remember I was not his music therapist for any reason, but um, I imagine that he would have thought it was more bemusing than anything to kind of be engaged in music. But it's it's very, very rare that there's no way to touch somebody with music. You know, we do kind of the ethical thing sometimes, and if we're with a end of life patient who we have no or client who has we have no relationship with, and they're just not engageable at all, and not because they're having trouble with their behavior or anything like that. They're just um, they're really, as much as we believe that the music can reach somebody, there's no evidence of that. And so sometimes we just can't reach them, but it's not necessarily a negative reason, if that makes sense. I mean,
So,
I've had people like get mad at me, for bringing music into their room for some reason, or I don't know, they didn't like the song, or they're just that like anxious and that troubled. Um, I've had stuff thrown at me before. Maybe that answers the question.
can you speak a little bit to music and Parkinson's? And I'm
Hmm.
thinking about what happens to Parkinson's patients when they dance.
Yeah, absolutely. So that we know that Parkinson's is a deterioration of motor skills, particularly with gait, the way that somebody walks. Everything gets crossed up, and there's a lot of shakiness and things like that. And music, especially the rhythmic portion of music, can be very settling to somebody. And as I said before, it's called entrainment. Entrainment is when any of the body's processes, whether that be their breathing rate, heart rate, walking gait, um, come into alignment with a musical or outside source. So this is rhythm. This might be on a drum or something like that. And so a person, even as they advance into Parkinson's, can walk to that beat, and it helps realign. Again, not a cure, but it helps realign um, for however long that gait, so that they can walk a little bit better. And dancing is just like fancy walking, right? You're doing that to the beat as well. So a person can dance a little bit better even than they can walk sometimes, because there's all of that stimulus, uh, rhythmic, melodic, harmonic that is kind of flooding that person's brain and kind of overriding some of the deterioration.
So one more question, because you played a few songs with the various domains. Do you have a most requested?
I think it's probably "You Are My Sunshine." Or let's see, most requested. That's a good question. I keep "You Are My Sunshine" in my back pocket because I know it's more than likely that somebody will like that. But if somebody's asking for a song, it's probably a hymn. Maybe "Amazing Grace" is the most requested song.
And do you have three favorites?
Three of my own favorite, three like
Yeah,
therapeutic songs.
that you use in your work.
Yeah, three favorites. I got my big old songbook over here. It's probably something by the Beatles. Probably like, I don't know. Let's say three favorites. "Let It Be" is really great. Uh, Probably a country song of some sort that's really fun to play. We'll call it. We'll call it. I love that song. "Walking After Midnight," the Patsy Cline song. Go out walking after midnight. That's good. And then probably a hymn. I love "The Old Rugged Cross," let's say.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
let you go on.
All right. Sounds good. We don't have too much more, it looks like. We're well over an hour in here. So I'm just going to give you two kind of case studies. We've looked at the domains, and now we're going to look at a case study. These are kind of made up people. These are composites, but these are all things that I've seen many, many times. So I want to give you a little bit of a delineation between how music can be more or less therapeutic with like a typically aging elder and one with dementia. So first would be a typically aging elder. This composite person is an 80-year-old female. They're quote unquote typically aging. They've been widowed. They still live at home. They do not report depression. They're close with their family and friends. She has had a hip replacement and uses a walker for mobility, and she's Christian. So in our assessment, treatment, evaluation process, we're looking over on the left there at our domains, and then we're looking at a kind of an example of an intervention that we would use to address those domains. And again, we don't be like, now we will address the physical domain. But these are just kind of examples of how you would do that with each of these. So in the physical domain, chair exercise. She uses a walker. She's had a hip replacement, so she's not doing burpees out here. She needs to sit down to do her exercise, but marching along to music, patting your lap. There's tons of interventions that are pretty well known in the music therapy community that you can use, and a lot of activity directors and things like that know as well. In the cognitive domain, singing familiar or unfamiliar songs to strengthen that. Learning a new skill, learning a new song is enhancing cognition. Communication, you can do a lyric analysis, which is a really cool intervention to do with somebody. Pick a favorite song or have them pick from a bunch of songs, or bring a favorite song to a session that they want to examine the lyrics to, and give their take on what those lyrics mean or what it means to them. In the emotional, we can do some songwriting because they're still capable of something like that. So writing their own song or doing a fill in the blank, something like that, to express an emotion. That can be a life review song as well. The social space, they'd be wonderful in a group session. Their kids are probably trying to get them to move to an assisted living facility anyway. So if they were in one of those, they could join a group music session and just have a ball and have a blast and really work on that social domain. Spiritual, since she's Christian, we'll be doing some hymn singing and some reminiscing surrounding that. Oftentimes a person's spirituality or religious background is a very big part of their lives, from growing up, being an adult. So people have a lot to say about that and a lot to remember. And then in our musical, because she's not necessarily a musician, um, she's probably game. Let's play with some instruments. We can get out our xylophones and our drums and our tambourines and all that stuff, and we'll do some improv. The music therapist can provide kind of a background, a backbeat, or kind of a song, and this person could play along, and it's really fun. And uh, delineating that person from our composite person with dementia, again, an 80-year-old female, moderate to severe Alzheimer's disease, lives apart from a spouse who's still alive, but the client or the case study person is in an adult family home. They are often anxious, agitated, and restless. They sundown. They're isolated from their families and friends because they don't necessarily recognize them anymore. They are physically fit. There's some strength. There's some physical strength with folks, and no known religious preference. So this person, I think you would agree, might be a little bit more in need of something more therapeutic. And so the way that we might do that is, again, by pairing up during our assessment some of our domains on the side. So the physical domain, this is going to be dancing or walking. This person sounds to me like they might not want to just sit down and listen to music. They might be restless. So the therapist is going to follow them and try to support them by playing, doing a little ISO principle, where you might play a song that's in the rhythm of the gait that person is walking or wandering around with. That person might just start dancing when you play them a song that they like or that they remember, which is really fun. In the cognitive domain, we are going to try for as much basic engagement or preference as we can. Again, because they might not be able to tell us what music that they like, we're going to try to find that preferential music by taking into account their age, roughly, if we don't know it, their religious background, if we know it, what the caregiver might say, they like to listen to on the radio, or what they respond to when the TV's on, or something like that. And we're just gonna play some greatest hits. You Are My Sunshine, some dance songs, some big band. She's 80, so she was born in the 40s. Boy, that crowd is getting into the 50s now for music that they would really like. So we're going to go through that and see if we can't get some engagement, some eye contact, or some kind of recognition. In the communication, we're going to be very clear, and we're going to be very basic about yes, no, questions and answers. Do you like this? You don't like this? Do you like this song? Yes, no, and see if we can get some communication. Emotional. Let's see the lineup. Instrument, show, and tell. I think what I meant by that is to get out all of my instruments and see if any of them attract this client or this person. I don't know that would necessarily tell you exactly what that person was feeling, but maybe that restlessness and that agitation can be channeled a little bit, and by having permission, receiving permission to be as loud as they want, or be as aggressive as they want with the instrument without hurting somebody, that a little bit of catharsis can be had in the emotional realm. Social, this is with either me or the therapist and the person developing, however temporary, a therapeutic relationship, or we invite the spouse, or we invite the spouse along with, to see if that a connection can be made, maybe with the dancing. We ask the spouse what music or what kind of musical background the client had, and involve them together, because that can be very gratifying for the spouse as well, who is losing their person, and that person is losing connection with them as well. So that can be pretty powerful. The spiritual, because we apparently know that they're not religious, we're looking for a quality of life. We're looking to see if we can't get that person relaxed. If they're agitated, if they're restless, if they're pacing, wandering, muttering, saying words you're not supposed to say, that kind of stuff. Our goal can be to put somebody to sleep. And I know that I've joked about that with people before that I'm either here to put you to sleep or make you cry. But in this case, we're gonna try for relaxation. I think that's a worthy goal. And then the musical realm is, or the musical domain is whatever engages. We're gonna throw stuff against the wall, see if it sticks, see if we can get some engagement, and start to see those quality of life metrics going up and the agitation and the restlessness decreasing. Oops. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, another question thing. Does anybody have any questions right now? I can kind of bull through this. It looks like we're almost out of time here. Let me just go through here. The reason I bring up my care team deal again is that we also offer, or we're also experienced with caregiver training, and I know this is something that Hope is interested in as well. Being engaged in music therapy is all fine and well while it's happening, but what are some of the things that caregivers and family members can do in between musically therapeutic visits, that they can take home with them and use with their person, to just have a better time all the way around. So one of them is respite. Now that's not in between music therapy visits, but that's when a caregiver gets to take a half hour, 45-minute, hour break, knowing that their person is in good hands. Which music to play when the music therapist is not there. The caregiver might know that if they're a family member. They might not if they're a caregiver or a nurse in an adult family home. So we want to help point people in the direction of which music to play for their person, and that can come through our assessment with the client. It can also come from what we know about them as well. Like I said, those genres of music are really important for people, and there's really a lot of whether it's YouTube or Spotify or any of the other streaming things, or those channels on the TV, those really high number channels on the TV will just play genres of music 24 hours a day and like give you little stories about them. That can be really good. Where to listen, like I said, Spotify, and then how to use that tech, which is a moving target, let me tell you. But we do our best to help people navigate how to use the kind of the changing technology. Again, the Spotify, it used to be not that long ago, it was iPods, and now iPods don't exist anymore. Everything's on your phone. And so, we just try to help people get a handle on that if we can. Okay, and I think this is the big question and answer thing. So before that though, I want to thank you for listening to that. There's my contact information. I know Lynn and Julie and others with Hope have it as well. So if you are interacting with them, I'm always available for questions. If you have any after this, please email me. I will get back to you.
Could you speak to the programs that you do for us?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that prompt, Lynn. So we've worked with Hope for years now, most primarily we provide group music therapy services at CDM, which is affiliated with Hope. We do that, I think we're 6 times a month or something like that, 4 or 5. Anyway, that's the day program that's in Vancouver for folks with dementia and developmental disabilities. It's an adult day program, so we provide group music therapy for them on a very regular basis. And with Hope in particular, we provide a once a month music and memories group. So this is a music therapy group run by Kelly Aloya, who I mentioned earlier. And this is for people with dementia and their caregivers or their loved ones. And that has sprung, our population there has sprung out of the Hope support groups that are run all over the area. I don't know how many you have now, Lynn and Julie. I think
Hard to keep track, actually.
it's hard to keep. They're springing like tulips in the spring.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, kind of, yes. So we provide that one group per month. It's the second Tuesday of each month at the Good Shepherd Church in Vancouver. It's right off of Ellsworth, if you know where that is. And we can provide you more information about when and where and how that goes. And then the other very cool thing that we're doing, and we at Upbeat are gonna try to get to more of the support groups in the coming year and in the coming months, But Hope is very graciously paying for 2 free music therapy individual sessions with any Hope support group member. And all you have to do to take advantage of that is talk to your group leader. You can talk to Lynn. You can talk to Julie. I imagine you can talk to Lori. You can talk to anybody at CDM, and you can talk to me. And we'll come to wherever you are, at your house, in your facility, wherever, and give you 2 full free sessions of music therapy.
Can you describe the differences in the actual music therapy for a single person, which is respite, and then the other program that sprung up spontaneously on its own?
Oh, do you mean the spontaneous group session that sprung up?
Yes, yes, that.
Uh, sure thing. Sure thing. So going back, well, no, I don't have to go back. So what we're offering for sure is these individual sessions. So that is a music therapist going to a person's home who needs it and providing respite and or a a music therapy experience for the person with dementia and their caregiver. And so I'm gonna bring my guitar to one of those and my songbook, and we're gonna kind of do a little assessment and have a good time just playing music and seeing where that person is at. And on the second session, we can dive deeper. I'll bring instruments. We'll have a nice little individual session there. Um, what Lynn is referring to is that some of the individuals that we have been serving um, made their own group of folks. So they kind of splintered off and they started using their sessions to have a group session. And so that's more social, and that was actually put together by some of the caregivers of the folks with dementia. So there is a difference when you're asking for these 2 free sessions, you're asking for an individual music therapy session. That make sense, Lynn?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But
Okay.
but they can either choose to use the 2 sessions that we provide
Yes.
as the individual music therapy session, or as that group session,
Correct.
because that fills their needs.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and
Yes.
then beyond the 2 sessions, they are free to schedule their own sessions with you.
That's correct. That's correct. So we would love to maintain a relationship with you. It's just that that would be a private pay relationship past that. So it's kind of a chance for you to find out how directly meaningful that can be, and you get that on behalf of Hope. So we thank Hope for that opportunity for you.
So your timing is absolutely perfect.
Spot on.
Spot on. I wanted everyone to know that next month we will have Joyce Beadle, who is a dementia educator, who will be talking about intimacy.
Oh my. Okay.
So it's one of those things that people don't talk about much. And Joyce is absolutely excellent at bringing up a difficult topic and providing education and making it fun at the same time. So we'll see you all then. Don't forget about our other activities. And of course, we have a fundraiser coming up on March 22nd that there are still tickets available for. And our musical entertainment will be Jake Beck and Kelly Aloya. So,
She's bringing her harp, so you're going to want to see that. It's
so
great.
how awesome is that?
Barry.
Thank you so much, Jake. Thank
Thank
you
you
all
very
for
much.
coming.
Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.